Hey folks, Jimmy here, aka Palette of the Dead. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to the latest issue of Warhammer Age of Sigmar Stormbringer magazine. Now, as per usual with all these videos, if you like them, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and of course, drop me a comment down below. I love hearing back from you guys. It goes a massive way to helping out the channel too. Now, this week we are on issue 53 of Stormbringer magazine, and it's a paint issue. Not a lot to write home about, so we get 2 pots of paint as per usual. So we get Stormhost Silver, which is very, very good for your edge highlights on silvers and golds, and pretty much any other metallics as well, really. Yeah, you might need to give it a very, very good shade. It can separate very, very easily. But yeah, it comes in a lot very handy, so it's a pretty decent paint, so why not? But I'm not chucking around. The other paint we get is Og Green Camo, so a fairly duller green. Obviously, you're going to be using it for highlighting green edges, and maybe you can even use it for painting up some grots or something, or orcs. You could use it as a variation of green, so you can paint up different variants of orcs. So if you wanted to, when we get things like the Ard Boys and the Iron Jaws and stuff like that, you could use Og Green instead of a darker green, if you wanted to. Entirely up to you though, but yeah, you can do that. Moving into this week's issue though, firstly we are greeted by the realm of light. Light shines bright and clean over pristine deserts. The landscape lies in rune-like patterns, ordered and pleasing to the eye. This is Hysh, the realm of light. Here all is illuminated, and seers and the wise can pluck truth and knowledge from the radiant air. Hysh is a realm of enlightenment, both physical and mental. Just as the bright light of the realm illuminates land, so too is the mind illuminated and brought to new levels of understanding and wisdom. At night, the light dims but never extinguishes. At the height of day, it burns bright, dazzling with its brilliance. Hysh is also a realm of order and regularity. Its lands are divided into 10 symmetrical regions that have been named the 10 Paradises. But the name belies a much darker truth. During the Age of Chaos, the forces of the Dark Gods made considerable gains, and their armies blight the lands to this day. Standing against them are Sigmar's armies and the Lumineth Realm Lords. So, Hysh, the realm of light. The realm of light, its realm stone is ether quartz, which is a white-yellow light that's been trapped in kind of crystallized glass, essentially, and it's very, very patterned, and the Lumineth Realm Lords actually utilize a lot of it within their armor and on weapons and such like to channel more power and energy and stuff like that, which is pretty cool, and it's a pretty interesting way of doing things. The land is a bright illumination, and here all is laid bare to see, and hidden truths are exposed to those who are tuned to the realm's magic. And then obviously there is no realm safe from war. So many bloody wars have been fought on the soil of Hysh. In Hysh, armies that march to war do so under blazing light in full view of their enemies. The realm has fostered many cultures that prize intelligence and wisdom above all else, but this does nothing to stay the bloodshed. So, many of the different Dark Gods have tried to take Hysh before, including Chaos. Tzeentch regularly goes after it, and so does Slaanesh, because Slaanesh likes to seems to enjoy attacking anywhere that's elven. Also, the forces of death have also attacked Hysh before as well in a lot of the more recent stories, including the Mortek Guard and the rest of the Ossiarch Bone Reapers have made a few forays into the realm of light and such like, and likewise the Lumineth have made strides and assaulted places like Shyish as well. Then moving on, we get more information about perils and the signs of a chaos cult. So attend, faithful disciple, to the words of brother Muchard. The forces of darkness close in about us. Heed the teachings of Sigmar's devoted servants and renounce corruption. There is a festering darkness within our city. Foul people meet in secret and speak blasphemies. unto one another. Under cover of night they exchanged books and papers, whispering of hidden secrets that were not meant for mortal men and women of Sigmar. Strike down those who lust after knowledge and forbidden mysteries. Give no quarter to those who would seek the false wisdom of the accursed sorcerers of antiquity. So, as you can imagine, Chaos has a long-standing history of developing cults within cities. Also did it in the old world. So these Chaos cults could pop up anywhere and would cause a bit of trouble, and it was only down to brave souls and heroes and witch hunters alike who would kind of extinguish these cults as they go. So yeah, happy days. Then moving on to the next page, obviously you get a bit more information about the immoral infestation, a little bit about demons as well, the lesser demons should I say, and purifying the guilty, which is always a bit of an interesting way of doing it, I suppose. So you'd to purify, you'd be cleansed by fire or sword, which sounds a bit harsh. Moving on though, you get information about the champions of Hysh and how to utilise and kind of create hero origins for them and such like. It's entirely up to you. If you want your army to be of Hysh, then you could do that. If you're going to collect Lumineth Realm Lords at some point, you could do that. For me, for instance, I have a Cities of Sigmar army that I'm using the idea of Settlers Gain, so I can utilise a bit of this for that as well. So, because, you know, why the hell not? But, you know, it's one way of adding more flavour to your games, which is always really, really cool. You can also do the same for unit origins and creature origins as well. So, pretty cool stuff. Then moving on, we get our paint guide. So, Stormhost Silver and Ogryn Camo. It teaches you about thinning your paints. Now, in some ways you do not have to do this. If you are doing layers, worth doing. From what some information has come from some of the former heavy metal painters, they don't recommend that you actually thin your paints for edge highlights. Just because you have a chance of blowing it out and it can be a bit of a pain in the ass. So if it's a bit too thin, it runs and it settles wrong. So if you don't thin your paint for very edge highlights, that'll be far better for you. But anyway, moving on. So obviously we get a bit more information about highlighting. So obviously you can do highlights for the Stormcast Eternal. So if you have painted gold armor, a bit of Stormhost Silver on the very edge can kind of go a long way. I'm not going to lie, that's a very heavy edge in that picture, which I personally would not like. I would like a little bit thinner. I personally also prefer, if you are going to do some of that edge highlighting with a Stormhost Silver, my trick of doing it is I don't do it across the entirety of it. I do it across like the very ends of, say, like the top of a shield and the middle bit, and then I kind of leave it off on the far edges. It just looks, in my opinion, it looks a little bit neater. Then you get to do about the highlight of Cruel Boys, so obviously using the Ogryn Camo, obviously for the Cruel Boys skin, to highlight those. And you can also do that, the same kind of trick if you wanted to with any of the Grots that we've got, and the good old Gloomspite Gits, and any of your other Aurochs, not just your Gut Rippers. You can do it with all of them. It's your choice about doing it though, but have a bit of fun with it. Then we get information about the Sylvaneth battle traits. So obviously they like to use places of power and such like, and the groves. So you can have a place of power where it's classed as overgrown, and overgrown terrain as well, and which can help heal Sylvaneth up. Then we get our battle. So our battle is good old the Bad Moon's Orbit. So we get information about battle trait tutorials and how to use a Bad Moon's Orbit and such like, to kind of how they work and how they affect your Gloomspite Gits. Talking about Gits, we get Zarbag's Gits tactics page as well for them, so they are a bit fragile, but you do get a few models and they have a bit of versatility as well to them. Then we move on, we have a bit more information about the Moon Clan shooters. So obviously they are fragile because they're Gits, but there are loads of them and they do utilise ranged attacks if you've done shooters. Obviously if you've done stabbers, you're not going to get a page for this, but you can find very similar through the Warhammer Age of Sigmar app. Then we move on to our actual battle plan. So our battle plan is forged in War Essence of Genius. So pick your army. 2 heroes, 4 troops from either the Alliance of Order or the Alliance of Destruction. Have a bit of fun with it, and obviously this has a bit of replayability, so when we get things like the Iron Jaws later on, you can replay through any of these scenarios with the Iron Jaws in its place instead and have the same battle. It's entirely up to you though how you go about doing it, but you can do that, so you know, definitely worth doing. Then we move on, we have a bit about the armies of Hysh. So obviously Lumineth Realm Lords feature very, very heavily on this, so you have got this image where it includes things like the Wind Chargers, you have Dawn Riders, you have the Swords Masters, I can't remember exactly what they're called, Alarith Stone Mages, and such like as well. So pretty cool stuff there. On the other sections of it, there is the Tempest Lords and Cypher Lords. So the Cypher Lords are a chaos cult within good old Hysh. They're one of the Warhammer Warcry warbands, which are pretty damn cool and look pretty neat. The Tempest Lords are the good old storm host that kind of reside in Hysh and have their storm chamber there. On that bit, though, you get information about Settlers Gain. So Settlers Gain is the main city, is the biggest of the cities of Sigmar within Hysh, and one of the pretty coolest ones in my opinion. Head Knights of Slaanesh also like to kind of inhabit Hysh as well, and you get an image of Sigvald, who is a very magnificent looking mini, in all honesty, and pretty damn cool. And then on the inside you get the usual bit, so you got the pull out bit where it gives you information about where Settlers Gain is compared to the rest of the Metric and Geo segment and such like. So you get to have a bit of a read about that, which is pretty cool as well. So pretty good stuff there. And then finally, moving on, next week we get Sneaky Snufflers, which are part of the Gloomspite Gits range. So they are these rather large-nosed sniffer dog style good old squigs, which are pretty cool, and genuinely one of the ones I'm looking forward to myself. The week after, issue 55, we get the Domicile Shell. So yeah, bit of scenery, you know, they're pretty decent. It looks pretty good. It goes very, very nicely with the good old Nexus Siphon what we've had before. So pretty good stuff. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's going alright. We're having in this little weird lull bit for a couple of issues, but you know, it is what it is. It always happens. Anywho, that's it from me. The last thing I will say before I get going, if you've not seen it, I have been doing a couple of videos on getting started within the Age of Sigmar. So if, for instance, you're collecting this magazine and you're thinking about you may want to change armies at some point later on, for instance, if you wanted to go, I don't know, to one of the other armies, say like the Cities of Sigmar or the Lumineth Realm Lords, for instance, I've done a couple of videos basically kind of giving you an idea of what you can get for a budget. It's worth checking out. I'm doing every single faction, which will go through over time. It'll take ages to get through it all, but for now, that's it from me. Thank you very, very much for watching though, and we'll see you sometime soon. Bye bye now.